Hello, my friends, and welcome to the next video in the Create Better Content series, where I show you how to tap into your creativity so that you never run out of content ideas again. My name is Penny, and I am your guide and the developer of this unique creative content process. I want to teach you how to create more engaging content, more remarkable content that you're going to post that will help you reach more qualified customers online. And if you want to learn more about creativity and how this unique process can help you with your content marketing plans, I would love to see you hit the button below and subscribe to this channel. As for below in the description box, you are going to see a series of links. The first link that you'll see is for my book called I Just Did a Thing. And in my book, I go into more detail about the science. I talk about why tapping into your creativity can help you with your content creation, as well as making some big changes in your business or even your personal life. The second link that you're going to see is to subscribe to the Create Your Business program, so you can personally go through this process of developing remarkable content. I'm going to show you how to experience the creative activities. I'm going to walk you through some prompts with a workbook. So basically, at the end of it, you are going to pull together a content strategy that is authentic to both you and your business. So this series of videos, and this will be my third one in this, I'm actually going through all the steps that you need to develop a more effective content organization system, a process that's going to help you stay more consistent with your content creation. I developed a 5-step creative content development process, and it's going to take you through the steps to create content that's going to resonate with more customers, that's going to create more engaging content, it's going to move past just the awareness of your business into somebody actually hitting that buy here button. So today's video is the last 2 steps of the creative content development process. If you haven't gone to the first ones, the first step and the 2 and 3, I will put the links below in the description box as well. But with today's video, these last 2 steps is going to basically take you through what I consider one of the best content organizational tools, your content buckets, or some people call them content pillars. And then I'm going to wrap this whole thing up where I show you how to pull all your information together. And you can actually put this into a content calendar that you're going to help you take action, that's going to help you stay organized, it's going to help you stay consistent. So don't forget to download your free copy of the 5-step creative content development process below, so you can fill out the worksheets and you can move through this with me alongside the videos. Alrighty, so let's jump right into step 4 and start doing the work on your content buckets. Some people call them content pillars. I like the idea of buckets. And I like the idea of buckets because I like the idea of it being empty and something that you are consistently filling into it and that you could take back out of it. So the idea, the image of a bucket is more appealing to me. So you're going to hear me say content buckets throughout today's video. Just know that if you know this as content pillars, content topics, content categories, it's the same thing. I just like to call them buckets because I like that visual idea of having something to actually put, your content information in. So let's jump right into this. So step 2 and step 3, you did a deep dive about your business. You started to understand about your customers' pain points, and you started to think about how all of that will fit into your marketing messages. So the next step we're going to do is how to take all of that information and use it with your content strategy. And the big thing that I want you to keep in mind as you work through this section, that your goal is not to sell or make sales. Your goal is to share content that is going to resonate with your community. Your goal is to create content that people are going to want to keep seeing you in their feed, and they're going to keep engaging with you. And we all know from the algorithms that the more that you engage with somebody, the more frequently they show up in your feed. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. What we're talking about Hold on a second. I had to take a sip. What we're talking about is understanding about your content plans. And one of the things that I like to bring up when we talk about this process, especially as we're moving into your content calendar, is I look at it as a 70-20-10 content breakdown. 70% of your content should inform, educate, and provide value. And the 20% is to promote your business and the cool stuff that you're selling. The 10% is what I call entertainment. And I'm not referring to, what's the latest with the Kardashians or Kylie Jenner or anything like that. This is the place where you show your personality and share your personal stories. This adds the you that we talked about in the last step into your marketing messages. So I want you to view your marketing message as a way to connect with your targeted community. It's a way to build relationships and encourage engagement and start a conversation. And I want you to think about that 70-20-10. So think about that. Most people go into this thinking that they do 70% of promoting their business. And I think that's what turns off people, because they feel like they're constantly being sold to. They're constantly being pushed by this. Click here, go here, do this, as opposed to informing, educating, and providing value. So I want you to flip the switch on that and look at your overall content marketing plan with 70% of that educational, informational, valuable content, but still find time in there to promote your 20%. So don't forget that. And also don't ever forget to add that 10%. And sometimes it could be even more than that. Maybe for some people, it could be 10% promoting your business and 20% of showing your personality. So however you want to work it out, it's more important though, that first number, the 70, is more about informing, educating, and providing value versus selling. So while it's tempting to take all those answers, especially the ones about the pain points and the challenges from the step 3, and just to take that and say, okay, I've got all this information, I'm going to start developing my content strategy. Let's just create a whole bunch of social media posts. I need you to do one more step. One more step. And this is step 4. So when we get to step 4, this is when we start doing our content buckets. Now, remember I said, your content buckets are your categories or your content pillars, your themes of information, whatever word you want to use. Again, I'm going to keep saying content buckets. So these categories, these buckets, are the topics that actually will resonate with your target customer. So when we think about, your content buckets, some ideas for them could be education, inspiration, resources, promotion, product services review, my life as a business owner, those types of things. And of course, depending upon your business goals and what your products and services are, your categories are going to vary based upon your business. So I am not going to sit here and say that these 4 to 6 content buckets that you need to use are this, and this, because that's not how this works. This is not a cookie cutter template, which everybody just falls into and just tries to find a way to make this work. This is not like that. The Create Your Business program is, there's no right way, there's no wrong way, there's just your way. So you want to think about your content buckets in regards to your business, your products, your services, and what is going to connect with your customers. And the category ideas are just a really good starting place, especially when you're thinking about your ideal customer and what they really want to know from you. What I want you to do is I want you to do a content bucket brainstorm with these questions. And these questions are in the workbooks, but I'm going to read them to you here because I think it's really important to start going through these questions and start setting that starting place for the content buckets. So the first thing you want to ask yourself are, what are the major topics or subjects that you are currently sharing with your community? And I would also add a little bit to that and say, what is getting engagement? So it's not just you're currently sharing with your community. Where are the impressions coming from? Where is the engagement coming from? Where are the comments coming from? Where are the shares coming from? Those are the ones that you want to take a look at specifically. What expertise can you share with your community? And that has everything to do with you and your business, and we went through this in the last step when I had you move through all of those series of questions. What are common questions that you get asked all the time? This is a really, really important one, because while you may not think that it's an important content piece, if this is a question that you hear all the time, it's obvious that your customers in your community want to know more about this. So it means that one of those questions, or at least several of those questions, may be compiled together, create its own content bucket. So another question you want to ask yourself is, what's a popular topic that your community engages within your industry, within your niche? Think about that. And if you don't really know, I'm sure you're all involved in Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, you're online on Instagram, you're online on TikTok. What's going on with your community that you are seeing a lot of people talking about? So that's a great way, if you don't know the popular topic, that's a great way to do a little bit of research. So this brainstorming may require you to do a little bit of research before you move on to the next part of it. So think about that as you're moving through these questions. And the big thing about this is, when you start writing out your answers, look and see where the overlap exists. Are you answering two of those questions with the same phrase and the same keywords? What you're going to see from working through this research, working through this brainstorm, is you're going to see which topics stand out. And those are the categories that will become your content buckets. So when we think about the content buckets, we've got some categories, we've got some topics, we've got some themes, all of that stuff. We're not done completely, because we want to set up our content buckets. The most important thing about the buckets is you need to start from a place where your topic is general and not specific. Most people want to start their brainstorm list and they jump right into writing a blog post or creating their social media messages, going, okay, here's my categories, here's my topics. I'm going to start doing a whole series of videos on TikTok about this. Stop, hold off a minute. There's actually an image in your workbook. And if you haven't downloaded the workbook, go down to the description box below and you will see a copy of the workbook that you can download right there. And in that image, you will see the full picture of how the content buckets are set up. And you will notice that there's different levels. So when we start up at general, we start, like I say, 10,000 feet up, and then we go down to specific road level. So you can see your general content buckets are at the top. And what I mean by general, that could be as general as resources, education, tools. We're talking general, like broad general categories. And then you have a subcategory. And from there, then you get very specific to develop your social media post or your blog post content or your video content or whatever it is that you're working on. Let me give you an example. And I showed you an example of this within the workbook, but I'm going to walk you through this. So this is an example of something that I have personally used for my content buckets. So I go general, and when I'm going general, listen to how broad and general these are. My topics are social media marketing, productivity, the science behind tapping into your creativity, life of a small business owner, creative ways to develop your content strategy. All of those are very general, very broad, and that's the idea behind this. So then I take one of those, and I use one as the example in the workbook. I use productivity because, as I think I've shared with you before, for many, many years before I jumped into the Create Your Business program and developed that, I actually referred to myself as a social media productivity coach. So that's one of the things that I have focused on, and I do very, very well. So I use the subcategory content bucket of productivity. So then when I look at those topics, I can go think of, let's see here, productivity, get more done hacks, create better habits, managing your schedule, right? So those take me down to the sub level. They're still not very post specific, but they're sub level of productivity. And then I go specific with those. So if I take the subcategory content buckets and I go specific, I actually have these particular blog posts on my website right now. So I took those productivity subcategories and then I went to time blocking to replace your to-do list, which is one of my best, it's one of my best blog posts that I have, especially doing very, very well on Pinterest. How to turn goals into habits. 7 steps to stay focused at work. So do you see the difference between me saying the word productivity, which is a content bucket, all the way down to 7 steps to stay focused at work? That is the specific blog post, which then can get repurposed into social media posts, can get repurposed into video content, can get repurposed into email copy, and so on and so forth. But you see how I started out very broad, very general, and then I took it down to the specifics. And that's what I want you to do here. I want you to take your time to work through this part of the step, because your categories, your content buckets, will start out as general, and then they will move themselves through the subcategories and into specifics. And this is going to be your guide when you are creating your content strategy. You may need to do one of your brainstorms. I highly recommend within this workbook, you have a couple more of get out of your box creative exercises that you can use. So go ahead and jump into one of those and then start working through your content buckets, because let me tell you this, when you start doing one of these exercises and it taps into that right side of your brain and it really loosens up the ability to see insights, to see opportunities. So take it as you will, but I would love to see you definitely work one of the creative exercises before you do the brainstorm for your content buckets, because that's really important. But also know about content buckets, they are not set in stone. So as your business evolves, as your work evolves, as you evolve, this is the kind of thing that you can use to make sure that the content is still relevant to what you're talking about in your business. So while you're working on this right now, just know if a year from now things are changing, or 6 months from now things are changing, it's not set in stone. You can always go back and rework this. Okay, now let's get into step 5. So you've got your content bucket set up. You've done some brainstorming. Most likely when you've done some brainstorming and worked through this process, you're starting to get some really, really good ideas for post-specific type of content that you want to do. So that's great. That's really, really awesome. So we're going to take step 5 as the option to pull this all together, to pull this content calendar all together, and to work through the things that we want to work through, and to make sure that what we're posting is relevant, and it really can help more people engage with you, and more people to see your content, and more people to actually click on your links and to go to your website and to see what it is you're selling, and to learn more about what it is that you do and who you are and how you can help them, because that is our goals, to really, really reach customers online. And your strategy is just this series of small steps, small changes, and small bits of attention to actions. Because here's the thing, it works when you work it. It really, really does. I know that expression is so cliche, but cliches exist for a reason because it really does work when you work it. To make connections with more customers, you actually have to spend some time there. So whether you're engaging online with a Facebook business page or LinkedIn or your Instagram account or TikTok, if you are not in that site actually using the social site, nobody's going to see your posts. I'm not going to get into a long, huge, detailed explanation about how the algorithm works for each social site that you're using, because seriously, there is a ton of posts and other videos and all this information out there for you to do some research. But I do want you to know one important point. If you are not actively using the social media site, the social media platform that you are trying to promote and you are trying to engage with your customers are, no one is going to see your promotions post for the great thing that you are trying to sell. When you're being active on the social platforms, the algorithm sees you in the site. It sees your actions. It sees you commenting. It sees you clicking the like button. It sees you watching the videos. So it knows that your account, your profile exists. And so that is what's triggering the algorithm to also show your content to others. So the big thing I want you to know about social media, that it does work when you're being social. It's kind of weird. It's called social media for a reason, because it wants you to be social. So I want you to keep that in mind as we start working this process together. And I want to turn this content development plan into an action plan. So there was a whole bunch of questions that I had listed out for you in the workbook. And so now what I want you to do is I want you to take all that information, because I suspect by this point you have probably come up, especially when you hit that content bucket brainstorm session, you are starting to come up with, oh my gosh, I could do a video series on this. Oh, I've got a great idea to do a blog post. Oh my goodness, I've got a great idea that I can take something and I can repurpose that and I can turn it into this. It's all starting to come together with you, especially if you've been doing the creative exercises and allowing that right side of your brain to open itself up to insights and aha moments and lots of opportunities. So I want you to think about this. So you've got all this information. So now we're really going to get to the heart of that content calendar. And when it comes to the content calendar, there's no right way, there's no wrong way, there's only your way. And if you'll notice in the workbook, I don't even talk about how to set up your content calendar, because I'm not even going to get into that, because some people do it on a digital. Some people print out stuff, pretty pages from Pinterest. Ooh, that was alliteration. That was hard to say too. However you do it, if you're a pen to paper type of person, that's how you set that up. If you're a digital person, that's how you set that up. If you like to use an app, that's how you set that up. So I'm not here to tell you how to set up your content calendar, because I want you to do it the way that you work, because I always know from working with all of my clients all these years that if you don't work digital, paper, or a combination of both the way that you normally work, you will find every excuse under the sun and moon and stars to not get it done. So it is not my intention to tell you that this is the exact way that you have to set this up, which is why I did not go into that into the workbook. But I wanted to touch on that a little bit. So anyway, so you've got your content calendar, however you're setting this thing up, by paper, digital, an app like Trello or Asana or whatever you're doing. So we want to take all of these content ideas, we want to turn them into an action plan so that you can stay consistent, so that you can actually use this content calendar and use these content ideas and start sharing this. So the first thing I want you to ask yourself as you start working through this is, when are you going to be able to schedule time in your day, in your week, to log into the social media site where you want to reach your customers? That is super important. And what I want you to do is I want you to consider that time as you would find it as important as being with a client session or client appointment. Or when you show up to the client. If somebody says for you to get on a Zoom call at 11 o'clock that morning, you are there, because that's what you should be doing. The same thing goes to you and your content strategy. Treat yourself with such priority as you would a client, because your marketing is just as important as anything else that you do in your business. Sometimes might even be more important. So think about scheduling that time. I personally block it off in my calendar, my planner calendar. So that's just me. But if that's what helps you, or however you want to schedule it, you want to make sure that you are scheduling that time. Now I want you to look at all of the stuff, look at all of your notes, go through all of the content ideas, especially the ones that you did with the content buckets. And I want you to think about this. What kind of posts can you share that come from a place of value and connection, rather than just trying to make your next sale? Remember, we talked about that 70%. This is the opportunity for you to create that 70%, especially for those of you who have been spending 70% in sales because you're like, I don't know what else to do except promote my business and buy here, click here. I'm going to give you ideas right now about how to take all of these content ideas and all of this stuff that we've been doing over a series of the videos throughout, the creative content development process, the 5 steps. So I want you to take a look here and give you a place to start. Think about a blog post. You can share a blog post of yours, or if you are not into writing a blog post, how about sharing somebody else's blog post, especially somebody who has the same value, mission, and information that you do as well. You could create a YouTube video showing them how to do something. Podcast links. Oh, podcasts are huge. You can share yours or even another podcast if you think that this is information that's going to help educate your community. You can share something inspirational or something funny or something that's entertaining. You can share a post about what's new in your industry and then share your take on how to use it. How can you put you into this? You can do a Q&A from your community. And even if you don't want to do live streaming, you could always post up something on your Facebook page or your Facebook group or wherever or Instagram or whatever and say, I'm taking questions from my community and I'm going to create a video from them. Give me your questions. And so that one post could gather up the questions. You do the video, answer them, gives you another piece of content to share right there. And you can even drill this down even more so by asking a question that you would like to get feedback about. There's a new program out there. I want to know, is everybody else jumping into this? And if you are using it, how are you using it? That's a great way to start conversations. You can tell just that question that I asked right there. Not once am I selling anything. Did you get that? You can also do exclusive content that's not seen anywhere else. You can share with them something that's helpful or useful, something of value, that 70% value. What's a task that you want your community to accomplish? Think about that one. That's a really great question for you to answer, a really good prompt, I guess is a better way of saying this, for you to start thinking about how you're going to use this content, how you're going to start sharing all of this information that you have just been doing deep dives and all this content buckets and all of that stuff. So what I want you to do is think about those. Think about those ways to just get you started. And you actually have a space in your workbook that I want you to start writing down your answers and think about where they fit into the content buckets. So even though I came up, we're starting with some post ideas, where would these post ideas fit? Do they go into that general content bucket? Are they subcategory content buckets? Are they specific post ideas? So try to sketch that out and you'll start to see, again, a lot of overlap. You're going to find yourself going, well, here's a really important content bucket. This Q&A type of thing and asking questions and getting feedback. That would be a great content bucket because then that could provide me with some research. It could give me a resource. It could help me engage more with my community. So I want you to think about it like that. So just use this and just kind of put things in there. And the goal is it's not going to be awful pretty. This might be a place where you want to put something in pencil versus pen if you are writing, because you're probably going to start moving things around. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to move things around. I want you to shift and move things around, because what's going to happen is you're going to start seeing some, everything's going to be like, okay, wow, that's a whole topic. Oh, wow, that's a whole bucket right there. And that's a whole bucket. And you're going to start to see all of these pieces and parts come together. And that is the goal of this process. That is the goal of how we are going to continue to be consistent and to make sure that we are continually sharing content that is relevant and resonates with our community. And so the last piece of this the creative content development process, I had talked about your goals a few seconds ago, and I want to get real specific about your social media goals. And when we think about our social media goals, a goal is not just the number of followers. Followers are great, but they don't always make sales. So I want you to be specific about what you're trying to accomplish and why you're using social media. Why are you using marketing? Why are you, spending this time? So your goal could be, I want a number of sales, signups to my email list, traffic clicks to my website. Those are very specific goals. And so that has a lot to do with how you're going to pull everything together. So if you're looking for the number of sales, let's use that as an example. If that is your goal, you want to think about it from that perspective of, okay, so now how do I get them to make the decision to buy? And then we back it out. So if the goal is to make an X number of sales on this particular product, how do we get them to that product? How do we get them to that point? There needs to be an awareness of the product. There needs to be an awareness of what you are, what the pain points are, what you understand what their challenges are. And then there becomes that section, I'm referring to the customer journey map, which is like always ingrained in my head. Which then we get to the next section, which we refer to as consideration. So now I've given you awareness of my product. We've given you awareness of the challenge, and I've given you awareness. And the consideration stage then becomes me showing you how my business could be considered as one of the solutions to your problem. So we go through that whole stage, and then we get to the decision. How do I help them make the decisions? Is it testimonials of people who have bought the product? Is it, some sort of analytics that I can show them, some sort of data that I can show them? How can I get them through that? And so that's why we want to think about our goals. We want to start with our goals and how we're going to get there. And when we think about it from that perspective, and we think about it from like a funnel, how do we move them through each one of these stages to actually get them to click that buy here button, or click on the sign up email, or get to the website, traffic clicks to your website, or whatever it is your goal is. So I want you to work through that by talking about action steps. So when we figured out what our goal is, there are a specific area in your workbook to think about your action steps. And your action steps, I want you to think about it from this perspective. I want you to go through 3 action steps that you can do this week. And then think about milestones I need to meet this week, milestones I need to reach at the end of the month, and milestones I need to reach for the next 30 days, the next 60 days, and the next 90 days. So that is going to give you a better overall picture about where you're trying to go. And the reason we talk about our goals is because when it comes down to the content in particular, that is when we make the decisions on which content is going to support these goals. So it's great to have, lots of ideas about content, but if you don't have a goal that you're working towards and you're just posting this and posting this and posting this, it's all becomes very random and scattered, and it's not cohesive. So what our goals are doing is it's creating a cohesive content strategy, and it is helping you work through this process so that you can take action. Because it's not just about brainstorming all these amazing ideas and letting them, sit in a Google Doc. You want to take action and implement your ideas. And so that's why we want to go through the goals part here at the very, very end. And this is what's going to help you start sharing your marketing messages with your community. So don't forget to go down below and download your copy of the 5-step creative content development process. You are definitely going to want this particular workbook, because this one is going to help you work through a lot of the content buckets. It's going to help you work through having this content strategy that you can have in place. And you're finally going to be able to pull it all together to help you reach more customers online. So thank you so much for joining me today with this creative process. If you've enjoyed this content about creativity, I hope you'll consider subscribing to this channel. And if you are ready to dig into the deep work of developing your content marketing strategy, the link is below to subscribe to the Create Your Business program. I know that you're going to stop saying, I'm stuck and I don't know what to do with my marketing messages, and you're going to start believing that you do know what you can come up with your marketing messages, and you do know that you will see results. So don't forget to download your free copy of the 5-step creative content development process. You'll see that in the description box below. You are magnificent, my friend, and let me be the first to say, I'm proud of you. Until next time.